These windows have been recently replaced, so I'm not going to be suggesting any new windows in this home. These are double pane windows. Again, in the book that I'm going to be leaving with you in chapter 2, it has a nice discussion on windows. Every window that a homeowner would buy would come through with a fenestration label on it. The U value is one of the more important numbers. Today, to qualify as Energy Star, a window has to have a U value of 0.30. I always think in terms of R value better. The inverse of U equals R value, so 1 divided by the U value gives you the R value. So if this has a U value of 0.30, this window would have an R value of 3.33.
Can you explain what an R value is?
R value is just the resistance to how quickly heat or cold passes through a material. So for instance here, we've got, let's say an R value of 3 or so. If we're looking at the wall cavity, 2x4 construction, 3.5 inches of insulation in the wall, depending on the insulation, could have an R value of somewhere between 11 and 15 when they put it in. So let's call it 13. And then you've got sheathing, and we've got the exterior sheathing. So this wall, if we added all the composite material, it may have an R value of somewhere around 15. This glass has an R value of somewhere around 3 and change. One of the things that homeowners will often say to me is, my windows are drafty. Now, I like the idea of having this type of shade on because it can pull down, and it really helps with that. I'm going to leave a sheet that describes this, but one of the things that goes on around glass occurs with convection. Heat transfers in 3 ways: conduction, convection, and radiation. So in this particular glass here, you get cold that radiates and conducts through this glass. So it makes the air right by this side of the glass colder. Colder air is denser or heavier than warmer air, so it drops and it creates a little natural convection right by the glass. So if we were sitting on this couch on a cold winter day and this shade was pulled up, you'd probably feel cold on the back of your head. And you may say, geez, there's a draft around these new windows. Well, there could be. However, more likely than not, there's probably just cold that's come onto this side as a result of it being so cold outside, and it's just made this area colder. Now, one of the other things that goes on with windows is, particularly double hungs, there's a lot of seams on double hung windows. So if you do get a windward pressure on the home, you may get, if we have a 20, 30 mile an hour wind blowing on this home, you could potentially get some, particularly in older homes with older windows, you may get some leakage around these edges. But these newer windows here, I'm not sure how well we can see on the camera, but there is weather stripping here. There is weather stripping on the base of this window, and then likewise, there's weather stripping on the top of this window. And this also has a nice, I like this little area here. It's got a gasket in here as well. So when this window closes, and this lock becomes important, in that when you pull it, it gives a nice tight seal to it. Now, one of the things that, after doing this for so many years and looking at so many windows, I kind of go by the class, I call it the class test, particularly on a double hung window. I think when you're shopping and looking for windows, if you're looking at this particular locking mechanism here, if that feels good and sturdy, like when you close a car door and you hear that nice solid sound to it, I also think this lock tells a lot about the quality of the window as well and how well it's going to fashion. Because this clamp here should actually push the window up and down and also pull it together so it gives it a nice tight seal.